At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first responders, veterans, active military, and anyone employed in the fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
Good afternoon and welcome to Red's Roundup. And you saw the Benton County National Bank commercial there. Their new building is nearing completion. But today we're going to talk about Benton County, but we're going to talk about them in a different realm. These two gentlemen are involved in a big project in Benton County, and the Garrett Ridge Water Project. I want to let you gentlemen introduce yourself, and we'll talk about Garrett Ridge and all things Jackson County Water.
Okay. Appreciate that, Red. My name is Larry Foster. I'm the general manager of Jackson County Water.
And my name is Keith Solomon. I'm the deputy manager of Jackson County Water.
Well, these two gentlemen, they're involved in a big project, and Garrett Ridge came from the community, and it eventually came into you guys' sphere of projects. And it's been a long process, and can you guys talk about, let's go back to how it all got started with this man. An important man came to MacArthur to get this started. Corbin, if you could bring up that picture of that big day at the health department. Okay, that was one of the meetings that got things underway. And but Governor Mike DeWine came and got this project rolling along with John Kerry. And you guys, can you kind of tell us how it unfolded, all the negotiations with you and Terry, and how all this Garrett Ridge got started?
Well, the need in Vinton County has always been, in the forefront of everybody's mind. There's a real need for safe drinking water in Vinton County. There's been some inroads made into some of the areas where people live, but by and large, there's still a lot of people out there in rural Vinton County that still don't have good drinking water. So we've done several projects with the county commissioners since 2009 when we merged the Vinton County Water Company into Jackson County Water. And we worked with the commissioners. They've been very supportive to put in a lot of projects, but they've just been small projects in piecemeal style, but fashioned in such a way that we could build on them for the future, and that's what we've done. We've just added on and added on. But just about 4 years ago, it really got a lot of attention. Terry Featheroff in the Vinton County Economic Development Office, along with the county commissioners, wanted to do something that would move water extension into the county on the fast track. And when I say fast track, when you work with utilities and especially water systems in rural areas, fast track is 5 to 10 years. It takes a good long time to get things designed and permits in place, and then you've got years of construction, but they worked hard to try to get something moving. They got the attention of a lot of prominent officials on the county, state, and the federal level. And as you said, you referred to the announcement by Governor DeWine. They have received some grant money, and through that grant money, in a partnership with Jackson County Water, we are going to put in place about a $7.8 million project that will extend water deep into Vinton County. It's not going to get everybody, unfortunately, but it's going to make a difference for a lot of people who really need water now.
We'll bring Keith in. Keith, the governor took a personal interest in this, and John Kerry, I'm sure, had a hand in it. That must be gratifying to the company that state officials take interest in these projects and push them through. You said you've been up there looking around. I know you've been. What part have you played in it so far?
Along with Larry and I and stuff. Right now, we're collecting our easements, and we're in the final stages of the engineering part. We're hoping to get that all wrapped up because we have monies to do the complete project of all of Garrett Ridge and and Don Pretty Run. But depending on how our funds go and how far we can go, we're going to go as far as we can go. We're hoping that we can possibly get all the engineering completed up this fall.
You know, and we had another special visitor. This, when you talk about getting attention, you said this project got attention. It went all the way to Washington. Gail Manson came and to tell us about what that has to mean to this project to get the leader of the ARC to come to this project.
Well, obviously that she carries a lot of weight. She's got an interest in rural America, which is really valuable to us because if there's one thing you can say about Vinton County, you know, it has some beautiful rural terrain. It's a beautiful county, but it's not very densely populated. It has a lot of topographical variations, which creates some engineering and design considerations. But she's aware of those kind of things, and I think the fact that she has experience in that sort of thing, as well as the funding aspect, that's really beneficial. And it's always helpful when you've got a project that you feel strongly about and you see the importance of it. It's good to know that there are other people, especially high-ranking officials, who think it's important as well.
You know, we showed a picture up there. There was a big meeting, and this project didn't come. And like you said, when we think of fast track today, we think of the internet and getting a fast food meal, but that's not in your business. You said 5 to 10 years is a fast track. And certainly once this started, I think once the governor saw the need, I mean, they found out there's no water up there at all. You guys are going to have to, and we were talking before we went on, you're going to have to pump water in to an area that doesn't have any. And that, I'm sure for Jackson County Water, I'd like you both to speak on it. That has to be a big ordeal with a lot of pressure that you guys are undertaking.
Absolutely. We have to do some upgrades on our end in Jackson County to even get that volume of water there. We're going to be upgrading some pump stations to be able to pump the water to up on Garrett Ridge, and also upsize some lines quite a bit. We're going to be putting in some large lines so they can get that volume there.
It's just, I guess it's just quite for the company, there's a lot of details, a lot of big, you said 16-inch pipes you're going to be running? Wow.
Replacing some 4-inch line with 16-inch line.
So this is one, certainly, if it's not, as far as for the pressure, and it's got to be up there, some of the biggest things you guys have ever done, or certainly near the top anyway, of a big project like
One
this.
of the larger projects.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And this project drew the attention of a lot of people helped on this project. The schools wrote a letter to the state. The health department wrote a letter. And Total Media did an editorial all calling attention to this. This is really, you guys are solving a public health emergency. And how does that must make the company feel good that you're doing something for long-term health of the people and that you serve.
Yeah, it's gratifying to work in an industry where you're really doing a tangible service to people for the long term, because once the water lines are run and in place, it's not just going to serve those people who are using water right then, but it's laying the groundwork for generations, to continue keeping up the family farm, or maybe opening some sort of a cottage industry, moving their family onto an adjacent piece of property, selling property and developing it. There's all kinds of options that are opened up when you do that, but the initial benefit is the thing that's most gratifying. We have people who haul water in the back of trucks and tanks to their home to operate their household on, not to fill their swimming pool per se, but so they've got water that they can bathe their children in and water that they can cook with, water they can wash their clothes with. And in most areas, people don't really understand the impact that running a water line in an area such as this can have on people. It's one thing to improve the service by putting in new lines and where existing lines are, replacing those, increasing capacity. But to get water to people who don't have it, I mean, that's really gratifying, and that ties right into the mission statement of Jackson County Water to get, safe, affordable drinking water to every home possible, and that's what we try to do.
We want to give a shout out to somebody who, a man from our area that makes these things happen. John Carey, he's really picked up the bat for southern all 33 Appalachian counties, obviously, but certainly our local counties. Being from Wellston, he's really took an interest in a lot of these projects.
He has, and John identifies with the need of the people in our area. I've worked with John, for years and years, ever since he was mayor of Wellston. Through all of his career, he's just always been very, 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 very helpful. Always interested in trying to do what he can to help people who have a real need, and obviously safe drinking water is a real need.
You guys, can you kind of give us an overview of the company, how many customers you have now? And
Yeah, we have, right now, we have probably about 6,800 connections throughout Jackson and Benton County. And probably active customers, we're looking about 6,200 as of probably last month. And that.
now, can your customers pay the bill on the internet?
Yes, they have several options. They can have it come directly out of their bank account as ACH, or they can go online and do through our online access there. Or we also, too, have an 800 number they can pay by credit card. And then we have the office, too, that they can come in face-to-face and pay with a check or cash.
Okay, I know that's pretty convenient. I know I'm sure the internet works well and I found this out in Benton County at the tax office. The people, these big corporations that's in Jackson, I'm sure that online services for companies, that you serve, that's got offices out of state, they can just pay online, pay the water bill, and some of the ones would have accountants and things like that. Makes it easier, and so that makes it nice. One thing I always wondered about your company, and you did a stopgap measure, but I wanted to ask you first, and we'll talk about the vending machines in a second. Do you guys do fire hydrants? Do you put those in, or does the fire department do that? Or?
We have hydrants in our system in key areas. They're primarily, they're exclusively flushing devices. We have 2-inch up to 6-inch hydrants throughout our system, and while we have really high pressure and flow in a lot of areas, they're not classified as fire hydrants. There's some issues with the NFPA that you have to meet certain requirements to actually be a fire hydrant. Obviously, we work closely with the local fire departments in Jackson and Vinton County, informing them how to use and access our hydrants and allow them to use those in emergency situations. They're not fire hydrants, but you can fill a fire truck with one. And so they're normally located where it's convenient for us to operate our system. But, if some individual or fire department wanted one in a particular place, obviously there would be a cost involved, but, we would look at putting one in wherever they wanted it. But in most cases, the fire departments all have, I've met with fire departments, Keith's met with the fire departments from time to time, and we give them maps of where the hydrants are. We ask them to become familiar with the locations, and they can access those whenever they have an emergency. So that's another side benefit to having rural water out in the county.
So it can bring down people's fire insurance.
Well, that's a touchy subject because
okay.
I'm not an insurance person, but It depends on the insurance company.
Okay.
I would advise our customers, talk to your insurance agent. In many cases, depends on how far you are from a hydrant, how much flow is available, how far you are from the fire station. It doesn't necessarily bring down your insurance, but it's always good to ask and see if there's any kind of benefit you could get.
Well, whether that's the case or not is certainly a safety factor.
Oh, yeah.
They got access to
Obviously.
water if there would be a fire. And in a place like Benton County, a fire that's 82% forested, fires are a real danger.
That's right.
Your company, a few years ago, your company went to a stopgap method to help people, and now I think got 4 of them about these vending stations, and we found them interesting when we first heard about them. And it seems like it's becoming, now you've got your first one in Jackson County. You got 4 of them now? Is that-
Well, we've got 2 in Jackson County.
Oh, you got
in
2?
Benton County.
Okay. Tell us about how did you guys make those decisions to start going that route?
Well, initially the first one was the result of having a project that came up 93 to MacArthur, and then obviously there were still people on adjacent roads that just didn't get served because there's never enough money and all these grants and loans to get everybody. There's always somebody past the end of the line.
Yeah.
And there were still people out in Vinton County that needed water, and a lot of people were hauling water, and the county commissioners and the Economic Development Office under Terry Featheroff, we talked about what we could do, and so we tacked on to the end of a project, what we called the Vinton Station Project. We tacked on a vending station. We did a little research, found out about them, had it bid and installed right at the south end of MacArthur. Now, obviously, people where the vending station is have water, and people in MacArthur have water, but it's an easily accessible point for someone to get water that now they don't have to drive to Chillicothe or Pike County or wherever to get water. So that worked really well for those people, and while it wasn't what they really would like to have, it was received well and appreciated because it got them a little more convenience on being able to haul water.
I didn't realize you had 2 in Jackson County. What's the other one at?
At the depot, they're right by General Mills.
Oh, it's in Wellston.
Yeah.
And then you got one out by the Victory Grange,
Limerick Grain.
Limerick
Grange,
Grange.
and then we have one there in Allensville
Okay.
at the fire station.
Wow. So and you just put, if you've never been to one, it's kind of like, for lack of a better term, I guess like a car wash. You
Yeah.
put the money
Similar.
in, and instead of washing your car, you fill up your bucket or your truck, or it just squirts out. Now, some of them have, except for the first one, the different ones, they're a little bit easier to. I mean, the one in MacArthur has a top loader, but the rest of them, you said, have spouts, kind of.
Now, they're all top loading. They just
Okay.
have different configurations of piping coming out of the station. The one at south of MacArthur has like a harp pipe. It's curved, but they all have a fairly high termination of the pipe, and that's so that trucks can get in and out, because we have everything from people hauling trucks with, as big as a semi down to a pickup truck with a tank in the back. So hopefully it's accessible to everyone that needs to fill those up.
And you guys kind of enlightened me a little bit before we went on the air. You were talking about some people, it's just easier to go buy bulk water and just take care of their gardens, or if they've got a vehicle like that, and then run their hose, even if they've got water, they can just fill up the buckets and water the plants, or fill up the pool and, get it done a little quicker. So
Well, that's true. That's true.
makes it nice. So this kind of brings back memories for me, and this project in Benton County, a long time ago. When did you do the Ray project. Was that
It was in the late 90s. Yeah.
In the late 90s, Jackson County Water was involved in a similar situation. Another high-pressure, high-profile project, and I'm a lot of. I was in church. Larry and I were in church for a year and a half every Saturday, and we went. And there wasn't the sermon was on getting water to all these people, and I'm sure a little prayer to the man upstairs was involved too. But a big, long project that resulted in, I think, a $10 million project when it was all said and done. But
Yeah, it might have been close to that. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was, yeah. It was a high-profile project. A lot of funding went into that. A lot of different agencies funded that project because it was a dire health concern. There, once water was tested where they built a new rest area on 35 and found that there was arsenic in the groundwater, we started testing residential wells, and they were all feeding out of like aquifers, and because of the underground strata of rock and minerals, there was arsenic in their water, and so we needed to, eliminate that problem, and by running that water in what we called the Ray project, but basically because it went all the way to Ray, all the way to the county line. We resolved pretty much all of that. All those people got water, and it was quite an event when it was all finished. I mean, it did a lot of good. A lot of people benefited from it.
At times I've kind of felt for Larry. He was on the hot seat sometimes because people don't understand. I know you guys would love to have the magic wand and just say, "I'd love to get you water," but unfortunately, it takes money. And it took a while to get the money, and Larry had to explain that to people. We can't do this without money. I mean, we'd love to, and we don't want to, so we can't. But he hung in there until the money came.
Yeah.
But what about those people out there? They never gave up.
No, they didn't. There were some people that took a very active role in contacting congressmen and even state officials, and we had a lot of attention. When we turned the water on, Columbus News came in a helicopter and filmed it, and it was a big event. But it showed two things. One is the determination of all the people involved, how much dedication they had in trying to get water, not just for themselves, but also for their neighbors, caring about their neighbors. And the second thing was it showed that outside of the area where people don't have water, people don't understand the problem of not having water. We had people from Columbus and the city down there wondering where the water came from before we ran that water. And unfortunately for some of those people, the water wasn't there. They would have to get buckets of water out of the creek,
Yeah.
So if you weren't hauling water, you were trying to do something creative to get water. And if you had a well and they told you it was unsafe to drink, then you were really in trouble. So,
I can imagine. Could you imagine getting water out of the creek?
Yeah.
That'd just be, and I think that's what I wanted to thank our Total Media management for letting me write the editorial on Garrett Ridge. I was proud to win with it, but more importantly, I'm glad it could help get attention to the project because, my editor, Pete Wilson, I just can't go speak for Total Media whenever I want to. I have to get the consent of my editor, Pete Wilson, our president, Cora Willett, and, of course, our ownership, the Stockmaster family, and we only get involved in things when we think it's really important. We did it for the Benton County High School. We did it for all the other new high schools. And we did it for the Ray Project, and we did it for Garrett Ridge. And I'm sure there's been a few other editorials but we just don't. Anytime large amounts of money are involved, we're sensitive about endorsing it. But we felt that project was important because those people, they really need you guys at Goat Ridge because they got nobody else. I mean, you guys will take on the big jobs when the money's available.
Well, we
Try.
we try. We try. But Total Media has always been very supportive of Jackson County Water, and we appreciate that. All the staff have been supportive, and coverage has been positive, and we appreciate that very much.
Well, we're rural too, and we understand the problems. But for Vinton County, especially, and we're going to go toward the future, there's a dream project in Vinton County. And this dream project requires, and once again, green paper, a lot of it. But someday you guys would like to come down Route 50 to the Vinton County, or near the Vinton County Middle School, if we can ever get it funded. But I'm sure that's something that's been discussed but not acted upon yet.
No, that is something that would be very, very long term, and it's going to be very, very expensive. Capacity is one of the keys, as well as just the hydraulics of building a project on that scale. It would be very, very expensive, and that is not something I'd see happening in the near future. Not because we don't want to, but once Garrett Ridge is under our belt, then we've got to basically drop back and look for funding and start all over again. And as I said before, about the once you've got everything fast-tracked, it's 5 to 10 years. You've got a lot of preliminary work prior to that 5 to 10 years. So it'd be a while, but everything we've tried to do, whether it be in Jackson County or Vinton County, has always been with the goal in mind to lay a foundation that we can build on for the future. And that's a little difficult to do in some cases because it requires maybe extra money to do something. You could do something on a smaller scale and maybe make a water line longer for the same amount of money, but then you've got no capacity to extend it. So it's sort of a two-edged sword when you deal with things like that. That we want to do as much as we can, but sometimes we're limited on how far we can go with what we have to do to get that far.
Do you guys have like is Jackson County Water, are they in any kind of discussion groups or any kind of association where y'all bounce ideas? Do you and the other water companies around here bounce ideas off each other, share information, something like that?
We have manager forums and stuff. And
Okay.
we will sit down with other managers of other water systems in Southeast Ohio. We're part of the High Rural Water Association.
Okay.
And that, I have to say too, we have a very active board, and we have retreats once a year, and that we do a lot of brainstorming, and we actually invited John Kerry there, and he came and spoke there and spoke to us, and it was shortly after that some movement was made. So, but yeah, we do a lot of planning ahead of time, and of course our board and Larry and myself, we meet once a month and discuss what's going on now and what's going to go on in the future.
It's funny you mentioned your meeting, and this goes back to Commissioner Fouke came to one of your meetings, Commissioner Mark Fouke. I'm sure that was a
Yes.
surprise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, that shows the dedication that Vinton County went to make this project happen. I know that you guys have always got some kind of project going on. Anything here in Jackson County that you're working on now or going to be working on?
Currently, we have a water tower out on Chestnut Grove Road that is needing replaced, and we're hoping to get that project going in the fall also to a separate project and stuff to replace that tower. Going to get ourselves for a little more capacity and a little bit more pressure from the water tank there.
And in Benton County, I don't know how many times that we've discussed this. Water means tourism and helping tourism. Do you guys hook up a lot of the individual cabins that's being built Are they on Jackson County lines?
There are a few. Obviously, a lot of them are out in more remote areas where people like to go and spend some time out in nature. And unfortunately, a lot of those are outside the extent of our water lines. But obviously, we want to try to get to those as much as we can. But we do have some cabins on Jackson County water now.
So that could be a growth.
Oh, yeah, certainly, without a doubt.
Because I know they're building them. I went to the commissioners meeting, and they're building them everywhere. So I'm sure you guys will be picking some of those up. I know water, water just means so much. You just don't, I guess when you live in town, as I always have, you just don't. My aunt, I remember, my aunt always had a water problem, and they barely had enough, and she took it. When the public water finally came, she took it because the neighbors, they said, well, the neighbors really need it. And I wouldn't mind having it, but the neighbors really mean it. And she said it'd be nice for us not to have to worry about it anymore. And the neighbors really need it. So they went ahead and signed up for it.
Good.
What about this process? I know you guys have had some breaks over the years. We talked about ODOT extending it to the west area, which helped you get through some rough. You get breaks like that, and then you're able to serve other people. And then one time Benton County came. Oh, they come up. I remember one time Benton County came over way under on a bid. The bid was so far under that they almost rejected it, and they found out later it was from TAM. The first time TAM ever came here, the bid was so low for a project, the commissioners were going to reject it because they had to miss a bunch of stuff. But we found out later that they had a big project in Columbus, and they was just trying to keep their people working. So and you guys was able to get Log Pile Road because of that. I mean, that's why they had the extra money for. I mean, what a break for them! That something like that.
Yeah, that was another one of the projects that we did in conjunction with the commissioners. They got a lot of people up their water. They really appreciated it.
We
too.
catch breaks also too from actual, property owners. When we're doing some of these projects and that, we may come to some rough terrain that we have to go through, and then they grant us an easement to maybe go across, a field or something that shortens the distance or even makes it easier for us to maintain, and that helps us out quite a bit.
Every pod. I know you've always told me there's always a customer ahead. You just can't get to, and I know that you guys do everything you can to get everybody. And how did you guys get into water business? Tell us about what drove you into the water business.
Well, I had just heard it personally. I just heard that they were looking to hire somebody, and I just applied. I was working somewhere else at the time and had no idea that it would turn into such a long and in my mind successful career. I mean, I'm pleased with being associated with the water company for so many years, I knew some of the people who were on the board at that time, and since then we've had several people come and go on our board. But I will say this: a lot of people don't understand that Jackson County Water is not a county entity. It's a private, not-for-profit company, and so counties they have no boundaries for us. We go into Vinton County. We have facilities in Ross County and in Jackson County, and so it's a great company to work for, and we've had, like I said, a lot of different board members, but all the board members that serve on Jackson County Water are customers of Jackson County Water. They have to be in order to be elected, and they're volunteers, and it just shows the public's civic spirit that those individuals have, men and women who care about getting water to people. So I feel very fortunate to work for Jackson County Water.
How about you? What drove you into the water business?
I got a phone call from one of the board members and Larry was looking for, and the company was looking for someone to come work side by side with Larry for whenever he decided to retire, that there could be an easy transition. And so I came in, and it just really took pretty much that first interview to sit down and talk with Larry and see the passion that he has for what he does. And I was like, I want to be part of that.
This company has grown. So I've been here 30 years now. I can finally say it. It's August, and but I've just seen the company. The company has just always been there, and they've always never been afraid to go after public money. They've always worked with the public officials to get things done, and sometimes it's tough because I know that you guys got a lot to do. You guys must have. I mean, there's a lot to a water project. You have to get the pipe. You got to get all the equipment. And you must have some good suppliers and people you worked with, contractors you worked with over the years.
Oh yeah, we do, and we'd be remiss if we didn't say we have got an extremely good staff, all the way from the water treatment plant to the people who send out the bills and deal with the customers on a daily basis. They're all very dedicated. They're all very good at their jobs. And we have a high percentage of our field and plant people who are licensed with water licenses through Ohio EPA. So we feel very fortunate to have those people working for us because it makes our job easier. It makes it a lot easier.
Not to mention, we also too have a great relationship that Larry has had for a long time with Lloyd's Contracting.
Oh yeah.
They do all of our, whenever we have a break or anything, they're always there for us, and they do an incredible job. It can be Christmas Eve and you have a blowout, and they'll be right there for us.
Because water is like, Larry has a second life as a fireman. So water is like, it's quick. You got, when the water breaks, you guys got to do it as quick as you can. It's not like we can do it in a couple of weeks whenever we can get to it. It's not quite like that. But,
That's true.
But, I wanted to bring in that second career or second life or second occupation. Does being the water company manager give you, being a fireman and knowing how your system works, that must help you in fighting fires. You know how the water system works.
A little, yeah, it does. Like I said before, we go around and talk to the local fire departments and make sure that they understand how a hydrant works, and most of them do, but we just reinforce all the aspects of pressure and flow and accessibility and maps of where they are, so that they're available when there is an emergency. They know where to go find them, and so that is very helpful in emergency situations.
I know you got fire hydrants in Oak Hill, and now are those the villages or are they yours?
Anything inside the village of Oak Hill or Colton, or the city of Jackson, city of Wellston, MacArthur, Hamden, those are their own systems. Those are their property. They run them the way they want, the way they need to. And in most cases, they have fire hydrants. And it's a lot easier when you've got, a fire hydrant on the proper diameter line, 500 feet from the last one on every corner or whatever. That's entirely different than what we have out there in the system.
And I know you picked up some commercial, some of your lines are in Bloomfield Township along 35, and some of your lines along highways. You got some potential for commercial customers in the future that you might pick up, and I'm sure it's always nice to get a big user whenever you can.
Well, yeah, it's beneficial. Obviously, we'd like to do that. Take advantage of high users, but again, there is a consideration that high users in the wrong place may create a problem as far as capacity goes. In an area where there isn't a lot of pressure, isn't a lot of flow, the proper size pipe isn't there, they need to be upgraded. It could cost a lot of money to upgrade to locate that where they want to. But when it works out right, it is very beneficial both to us and to the company, and also, you know, it means jobs. So that's always beneficial. We'd like to see more of that happen in the county.
How do you guys find out about these projects? Is it the development offices and the commissioners, or do they call you directly, or does someone like John Kerry call you? How do you guys find out who needs water? I know there's water maps.
Several different ways.
Yeah.
Several different ways through the commissioners, economic development of both counties, and that it can end up even be just a customer, customer calling, or even too you have just like the Harvest Crossing there, they contacted us, about that development there. So sometimes the company directly.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways.
And so you guys, so when they hire a contractor, well, we mentioned Tam, and Tam was one that ever since they came to Benton County, they've done quite a bit of work there.
Sure.
So we'll just use them as an example. I know there's several others, but whenever the county hires a contractor, do you guys meet with them? Is that how it kind of all works? You all get your stuff together that way?
Well, it depends on the kind of project.
Yeah, and the type of funding.
Yeah, normally when they do that, we're directly involved.
Mm-hmm.
And in most projects that we do in Jackson and Benton County, whenever they have funding, it's always a good thing. Do we get a project going? And generally, Jackson County Water supplies the engineering. We hire an engineer. We get the project designed. We stipulate the conditions of the contract documents, the bids, with input from the county agencies. But primarily, when these projects are built, they're going to have to be operated long term, and so we want to make sure that everything's designed properly, that it all kind of dovetails with our system and the way we do things and the standardization of equipment. So we're usually very directly involved in those kind of things.
I know these projects just don't, like you guys said, they don't happen overnight. They're not easy to. You've told me that one of my favorite lines from you out of all these years is, "We built a project in 3 months. It took 10 years to create." I mean,
that's the way it works, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And people just wonder why does it take so long to get it. They built it in 3 months. It's just once you get started, it's just. A lot of times it looks easier than it really is. I mean, it's all the getting the money, getting the permits. I'm sure there's a ton of permits and everything else that you got to go through to make these happen. But Garrett Ridge, do you guys look in your crystal ball and hopefully see some kind of bid? We're not that close yet.
We're hoping to get it out to bid this fall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This fall, get it out to bid, and then provide material and different things like that. I said beginning of next year, probably start construction.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
I think that'd be pretty.
I think that's
about
what
right
we're
on
counting on
line.
being.
That's where
doable. Funding's in place. We have all the plans have been approved by EPA. Everything's been green lighted that way. It's just a matter of getting the final design work and bidding documents together and dressing up a few easements and the alignment on the route the water line's going to take, and we'd like to see that. We'd like to see a bid out and awarded before the end of the year, and construction start either in the winter if we have a good winter, because you know how winters have
I was
been.
going to
They haven't been
mention
too
it's
bad.
not what Mother Nature
Yeah,
approves.
but at least in the spring.
Yeah, but at least if we can get it bidded out, get everything going, then we can get material ordered, because you still have a little bit of time lapse on some of your materials. That backs things up, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And these guys never make promises they can't keep. And we do want to. You guys mentioned the weather, and if we have a bad winter, which we hope not, that could hold them up, or some kind of flood in the spring, or sometimes that happens. We hope it don't, but. I'm sure that the weather affects your projects from time to time when we have
They sure do.
situations. we've had a hot summer for the first time in quite a while, so let's hope that don't duplicate with a cold winter.
Well, let's hope not. But if we bid this out in the fall, there's probably not going to be any construction done before the first of the year anyway. I mean, there'll be obviously getting things set up, getting materials, things like that. But we'll hope that weather won't be a factor that causes any real delays to melt anything.
And then my other favorite stories, and we got to talk about this on TV. I've written about it in the paper so many times, but I just love it. And once the water goes on, it seems like the gifts come in, small gifts, but meaningful.
Yeah, there are people who are very, very appreciative. Mm-hmm. We have one really nice lady in particular who never forgets to bring us in some baked goods on Christmas, and has always done it since they got water at their house. They were so appreciative to have it, and it's meant a cost savings to them as well as other people, because if you have to pay somebody to haul water, if you don't have the truck or the wherewithal to haul your own, and you have to hire somebody to haul water, it's way more expensive than paying a water bill every month.
I think you said that she was able to do something with that savings too. That she had.
This one lady in particular, the money she saved, she could put a new roof on her house.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Yes.
So that, I mean, it's a real success story, and and this lady that we're talking about, without getting too personal, this lady that we're talking about was the first person in Vinton County that the commissioners and the economic development director at the time took me to meet.
Oh.
Because they'd wanted water for so long, and there was no way to get them water, and they wanted me to see where this was and stuff, and I got to meet her and her husband and children, and we were fortunate enough on some subsequent projects to lay that foundation that we could build on, that eventually got water up their road. And you know, we've been we feel successful, but then you look at the people that don't have water, and obviously it's not really successful for them. But we've got foundations laid, and we're trying to build where we can and do what we can. But it's you're never really done.
Well, you know, one thing the commissioners have said, and this has been printed, so we're not going on the deep end here, but I mean, this project is designed to make future projects in Benton County cheaper, right? They will be
this
cheaper.
is the meat and potatoes of you know, the possibilities in the future.
I mean, and I know it's been like you guys said, it's a never-ending process, and people always wants water, but this will, you know, once you guys come off of this, you know, hopefully the next round of money that comes in, you can get, you know, I know you're looking at a lot of places still in western Benton County and eventually into MacArthur, which is down the road. But there's still a lot of people that need water. There's still a lot of, Route 50 is important to Benton County long term. As we said earlier, that's the dream project. But that could open up commercial property because, for one thing, there's a 3-lane road on part of that, and it's not in the floodplain. So, and there's a lot of traffic on Route 50, so there's some potential for commercial development.
Sure.
Somewhere down the road there. Have you? I know you update. Is there a lot of interest? I know from Garrett Ridge people. Have some of them called you, or have you kept in pretty close touch with Terry?
Oh yeah, we talk to Terry on a regular basis, and trying to make sure we keep everybody, informed of where we are, and we're also reporting progress and status of the project to some of the funding agencies that have money in this project. So yeah, we do talk to her on a regular basis.
Yeah, well, this is one of the biggest projects. It's a big project. It's community based, and Jackson County Water is, they've just got so much going on, and they just sell water to the village of Hamden and the village of Oak Hill, the village of Colton. and some of their water lines through other systems. Well, I guess West Elementary in Benton County is on your line.
Well, yeah, they are. The South, I think they call it South
yeah.
Elementary. They're served by the village of Hamden, but we sell water to the village of Hamden.
So yeah, you guys pump out of Ross County. Is that your whole system? Is that all?
Supplies the whole system. We buy just a small percentage, maybe 2 or 3% of our water from the Cider Water Company, but everything else comes from our system.
Wow, that is fascinating.
Yeah.
And just keep on. So I know, like we said, we got some projects in the tank, and you just never know who's going to call and need water. I guess every day's a little bit different.
Well, yeah, we get calls every day. Unfortunately, it's just there's only so much we can do, and it, it's an expensive proposition if they're very far away from where the water line ends.
What did you start with? About 3,500 customers? Is that when you started?
When I started, I think there was a little less than that. I think it was about 2,000.
So you tripled it.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that for a fact yet. I'm getting old. I'm forgetting those kind of things. But when I do know this, when Jackson County Water started as an entity in 1970, they started with 646 customers, all they had throughout the whole system. After they built everything, it took a while to get that started.
Do you know what part of the county they started in?
Yeah, they started in out at Liberty Township and Soda Township. They ran some water lines out in Milton Township, and primarily just people who had needed water, primarily farmers, and needed to get water, and they worked out an arrangement to get water from Jackson and Wellston. They bought their water and then just pumped it on. Yeah, it was a pretty imposing undertaking for a group of people who didn't really have any experience in water to know that they needed to do something to help themselves and help their neighbors, and that's how it started, and that's pretty much par for the course for rural water in general. A lot of the rural water systems all started about the same time. At that time, it was the Farmers Home Administration. Now it's the United States Department of Agriculture Rural Development. But when they started, they were all funded primarily the same. They started about the same. And the private not-for-profit companies like Ross County Water, Cider County Water, Pike County Water, those all started about the same way we did. And they've all grown because the need is out there. And we grow in direct proportion to how much funding we get.
Boy, that's wonderful. 646 to over 6,200, you said?
Mm-hmm.
That is steady progress. And now, did you start out, was the original office out in Soda Township, or has it always been where you at?
No, the office has moved a couple of times. Our office at one time was on, it's always been in Jackson. Early on, before the company actually started putting water lines in, they met in Wellston, I think, at the Community Action Building, and they had their meetings there and developed the company there, and then they had an office on State Street in Jackson, near High Street, and then they moved to Walnut Street, and were there. That's when I started there. That's where they were on Walnut Street, and then in '98 we built our new office on Huron Street, and that's where we've remained since.
Do you guys have? I work in a motel for my second job. Do you guys have the computer mapping? You can tell where the breaks are in your office, all that kind of stuff.
We have a GIS system that has a map of our system that tells us the size of lines, how meters, and the whole 9 yards in that. But it doesn't alert us on breaks. We have what they call a SCADA system. And the SCADA system will regulate some of the pressures in some of our pump stations, levels of our tanks, and different things. And we have some very seasoned, bright people working for us to keep an eye on that. And they can tell by a tank level dropping or a pump turning on and running a lot longer than it normally does that we must have an issue somewhere. But majority of times it's a customer that'll call in and say, hey, all of a sudden my pressure went down, and all of a sudden we'll go, wait, we got a problem in this area, and we'll send some guys out to take a look at it.
Because, time is of the essence for you guys. When there's a problem, you guys need, because I know you don't want to waste water, and I'm sure that's an issue. You don't want to waste any more water than you.
No,
I'm sure
absolutely not.
A little bit gets wasted, I'm sure, but it's just water. You're going to lose some, but you're very efficient company. And we want to thank these two gentlemen. They've done a great job. I'm sure the people in Benton County will be glad to hear that Garrett Ridge is moving forward. And hopefully, if we don't have any, especially bad weather, we're going to get your water pretty soon. I know it's been quite a long road, hasn't it, gentlemen?
It sure has.
Yes.
Always is.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, very much for joining us. And next week, we're going to have some music again from some local, local talent. They were out last night at the Jackson Sidewalk Market Fair. We want to give you, we were talking to their director, Megan Wiseman, last night. We just want to give you a little sample as we sign off. We're going to have the Sonic Rhythm Academy. They were out playing last night. This is a little sample of what some of the people heard last night when they were downtown.